Welcome to the Psychedelic Timeshare. I'm Mark Couillard with Ian Benwees, and we've also got Ryan Began.
Welcome, Ryan.
Hello.
So, I guess I can tell the listeners how I came to know Ryan Began, the man, the myth, the legend. I was invited to the Americans for Safe Access meeting in March of 2015, where Sue Sisley was going to get an award for her work with cannabis and veterans. And I met Ryan there with some other veterans, and we protested the VA's policies by smoking cannabis in front of the VA, which was captured in stoned vets. And then Ryan was the person there that really found his voice and was the, leading the energy of what we were doing there. And then Ryan, in getting to this meeting, had spearheaded and driven the move to get medical cannabis in Maine as a veteran and a patient who needed medical access along with his doctor. And that's what he brought to D.C. And then since then, he's been on his own healing journey that we're going to find out more about. And we reconnected last year after almost 6 years apart to do medicine in Mexico. So, and Ryan was a Marine in Iraq and sustained injuries to himself and came back and was able to, he was on the alcohol and the pills and all that stuff, and then found cannabis and started his healing journey. And that's where we're going to join him here now and let us and fill in all the blanks. How does that sound, Ryan?
Sounds great.
Okay. So yeah, what details can you fill us in with on your story?
So it was probably like 2009 where I ran into Dr. Dustin Sulak, who's a cannabis doctor.
How did you guys find each other? So you'd come back from Iraq, you were still on lots of medications. Had you found cannabis at this point when you found?
I was using cannabis recreationally. I knew it was helping me. I didn't know exactly what it was doing. And I was also taking a lot of pills. I was taking, drinking. So the cannabis was having a mild effect. And then I met Dr. Sulak because I was, wanted to improve my health, and I wanted to be able to smoke cannabis without the law getting involved. So we had a medical marijuana bill in 2009, and it was incomplete. So then working with Dr. Sulak, I wanted to provide veterans with some type of insurance, some type of liability that they could use cannabis and not be, thrown in jail or whatever. So it's then I made the movement to push for PTSD to get added to the list of qualifying ailments. And at that point, that's really when I found my voice, and I started testifying at the state level. And it led me to more and more being a voice for people who couldn't speak up, whether it's because they didn't want to, didn't have the courage, or because of their situation wouldn't allow them to. So I found myself being an advocate for all those people, veterans, anyone who needed cannabis, because, trauma can happen anywhere. So PTSD is a pretty broad category. So there was a lot of people that I was, being able to help using the veteran front, my voice as a veteran to really break through and, provide some type of, liability for people using cannabis and who choose to use that path and not want to be on the opiates and all the other crap that the VA and doctors are shoving down your throat.
Brilliant.
A lot of how we define ourselves as men is how useful are we? How useful are we to our family? How useful are we to our country? And that's got to be kind of hard because that's a double whammy. Going, number one, I have PTSD, and number two, I want to use this. I want to use this drug to help me with it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I knew in my heart that I was on the right path, and I knew that I was doing good for the people, because I knew that, they deserve better than what they're getting for healthcare, and that there were better options out there. And, cannabis was one of those options. As I'm more along in my journey, I realized that, cannabis has its benefits, but there's other drugs, other plant medicines that we can use that can really evolve us as humans and create a much higher vibration than with the cannabis.
Sure, and you can, a lot of this is people's personal paths, right? And there are some similarities, people being on lots of different medications, 10, 20, 30 a day, and coming back and using and getting those while they're already on active duty, potentially serving still, even deployed, and then coming back and being on alcohol, and then running into the long-term side effects of the medicines just on their body, and then suicidal ideations. And so when you found cannabis, did you see that start to address and take care of some of the symptoms that you were being prescribed some of those pharmaceuticals for? Was that happening? Because you were saying you were kind of using it recreationally, or that was your first, way of approaching it. How did that sort of transition go?
I noticed it was kind of like a waterfall effect. It was kind of like I started, once I started using cannabis as a medicine, I started becoming familiar with other people that were using it as medicines, and seeing different ways that they were using it and how it was helping them. For me, it was really grounding. Um, it allowed me to eat, allowed me to sleep. It allowed me, got rid of the nightmares. To a certain extent, that was good. I now realize that I needed to see those nightmares, because those nightmares are part of my subconscious. And although it helped me, get through that period of my life, I really, now I really feel that, I'm blessed to know cannabis, but I feel that, cannabis can be used as a crutch to a certain extent. And I think I was going down that path, using cannabis from the time I woke up till the time I went to bed. I need my cannabis. I need my cannabis. I need my cannabis. To, now I don't even really want to smoke a joint. I smoke a joint at night now, and I wake up and I feel like I have a hangover. And now I love my dreams. I don't want to not have dreams now. Now that I realize what my dreams are, they're trying to show me things, and I want to see those. I want to see what my subconscious has to say. I'm trying to eliminate my mental as much as I can and eliminate the ego. So one way to do that is to listen to your subconscious and listen to your dreams, and just, being able to process those dreams instead of just trying to blanket them over with cannabis. I think it's a huge step in my progress.
Sure, sure. And it sounds like managing the whole process on a personal level is really important, right? Because, if you're talking about those dreams as movies, you don't necessarily want to binge watch and watch all of your movies. You know what I'm saying, right? Yes, and that's one of the challenges I see with a lot of people with cannabis. If they've used it to self-medicate in the past, and they're going to use it as medicine, they have to address the things that they were self-medicating for with that medicine, because it is so accessible. So, and because of its accessibility, people can overuse it and not appreciate it, right? And but that's also the benefit of it. It can treat some of those symptoms for a long time, until someone's in a position where they're also ready to go and do the deeper work. And so, yeah, it's just like all this stuff, it's really right how people are using it and what they're doing with it.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, like I said, cannabis became a crutch, and I needed it. But at the time in my life, it was the best option I had, and it allowed me to get, to take step by step, control of my health. And it allowed me, first it was diet, then I got into qigong, then I got into Wim Hof, all these different, then Reiki, all these different type of energy stuff. It got me into that community of healing, so it opened the door to my mind to be able to at least view other things as options other than going down to a liquor store and getting a bottle of booze or, being dependent upon the VA. I found that I have everything I need in me to be independent of my own healthcare. And, it gave me that responsibility, which, I ran with. A lot of people don't want that responsibility. They want to be able to blame someone else for their bad health or whatever. I wanted my independence. I wanted to know what was going on inside my head. Cannabis, it puts blankets over the problems, kind of, to an extent, so you really don't know what's going on until you remove the cannabis and really get to see your soul and what your soul's trying to tell you. Then you can use the cannabis in a different way. You can, make the cannabis a part of your rituals, of your ceremonies, but make not allow the cannabis to smoke you, as they would say.
Wow. Well, so, in your path of healing, you've both recently last year gone down to Mexico, right, and done some medicine work, and then just most recently come back from a 20-day, right, 20-day dieta in Peru.
Yes.
So, yeah. So is there anything else you kind of want to share then, background wise, at this point on your path to get up to where we're going to go now with last year? You know what I mean? In other words, you're saying how
Yeah.
cannabis, you'd used it in the past, and I don't want to say you'd overused it, but you used, like you said, as a blanket, and then it came a certain time to take off some of those blankets and mix other things in there that were a better fit to get you to this point.
So over the summer, I started struggling really, really bad mentally. Um,
This last year,
yeah,
during
going back to drinking, just like I couldn't figure out my mind. There was stuff that was happening with my mind that I just couldn't get to. Doing all the energy stuff I was doing, the Wim Hof, the diet, the fasting, I couldn't break through, and I was reaching a point of major frustration in my life. So it was in the fall, I believe, August. I started microdosing mushrooms, just just trying to do stuff because I knew I didn't like myself on the alcohol. I knew the alcohol was poisoning me, and I was running out of options. So I chose to microdose LSD and mushrooms, psilocybin. So at that point, I started, I started regrounding myself, and I started figuring out that I need to go deeper. If I'm going to get through whatever's going on with my ego, mental, I need to go deeper. The cannabis, the mushrooms, the LSD is not really getting there. And then I reached out to some fellow veterans, and then I ended up planning a trip to Mexico. And it was the best thing I've ever done.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for those, I know some of our listeners listening to some of our other shows have understood that in Mexico, because of the Supreme Court jurisprudence there over the past couple of years, cases that went to their Supreme Court ruled that all personal medicine drug use in Mexico is legal. And as a result of that, now in the past, people have been going there before. Now people feel very protected to go there and do medicine. And so you went last year with some veterans, and tell us about your experiences and some of your experiences with the medicines.
Well, I got introduced to DMT and Toad, bufo. The DMT was in vape cartridges, which was really nice, so I could, kind of go in easy and gentle, and just to get a feel for it. I've done psychedelics before, but this was totally different.
Had you ever a reason to come across DMT before that?
I've never done
Okay.
DMT prior. So I was excited, very interested. Then we went to Mexico. Got to play around with a DMT pen, which was, like I said, which was very comforting. And as soon as I was, hitting the vape pen, I knew this is what I needed. Like something in me told me that this was the path that I was supposed to be on. And for the first day, it was just playing around with the vape pens, and then the second day, we got to go deeper into the medicine. Uh, I got to hit the bufo, and it was just like surgery for my soul. I mean, I don't know how to explain it otherwise, but I I just remember just taking a big, huge rip, and just a big light clicked on and flashed, and I was just overcome with a feeling of love, like like I've never felt before. Love for myself, love for others, just love for everything that was around me. And it was at that moment right there that I knew that this was the medicine. This was the medicine I needed, and this is the medicine that I need to share with others. I need to um, this feeling of love. I can't, I don't want to contain it to myself. It was just something like that. There's just I want everyone to experience it, and everyone should experience it. We have DMT in our bodies, and it's I've learned when I went to Peru, I learned to do Kundalini, which is very, very powerful. If you don't have DMT at home, look up Kundalini. I guarantee you it will blow your mind. But just different, just it just opened me up to the love. Just to see the love that's out there, and the love, you just to experience that love for a minute, it can just change you. It's life changing. Especially when you're at a low point in your life, like I was running out of options. I beat my head into the ground doing Wim Hof, doing Qigong, just fasting. I'd fast for 2, 3 days. I was on, super clean diets, but there was still blockages in my energy that just wasn't allowing me to get to the level of vibration that I wanted to. And through the use of DMT and bufo, it unlocked. It was a key to unlocking that vibration, and it was through love. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just an experience of love that is just unconditional. There's no limits on it. There's no judgments. There's no nothing. There's nothing attached to it. It was just pure love, and just being with that group of veterans, and just with that medicine, it was just a beautiful thing. And then from there, I came home, and I was using the vape cartridges on my own, um, and having my own ceremonies. And then I was like, screw this. I need to go to Peru. I need to get deep. There's some demons that I need to rid myself of. I want to go higher. I want to live at a higher vibration.
How
I
how
know
how did
there's
how did you know you needed to go to Peru? How was that a next step? You had this experience of unconditional love and bliss, and you were well supported and felt safe, and then you came back home, and that's a big step, right? But then you're like you how did you know that was your next step?
well, just from listening to veterans talk about their experiences in Peru, with ayahuasca. You know, I just knew, like, if I want to, increase my vibration, this is how I'm going to do it. Being at home, there's too many comforts. There's not enough isolation. There's too many distractions. The medicine helps, but going into the middle of the rainforest for 21 days, that's isolation. You want to find out about your soul, that's what you do. And, just like I said, from hearing other veterans' experiences, I wanted to feel that. I want it to be reincarnated. And that's kind of the process that I went through.
Well, please tell us more about it. So you what within a month of Mexico, you were back down in Peru.
Yeah, January 1st I left. So the whole month of December I was fasting until 5 o'clock at night. I was only eating rice and fruits and plants, a little bit of fish, but not much. Cleaning my diet up. Then I got to Peru and met my healer Gabriel, who was awesome. And the first within the first 5 minutes I got there, um, he sat me on a hill, made me do Kundalini. I lost my shit. I had no idea where I was. I didn't know what happened to me. I was like, where am I? And then he gave me some rapé, and I just started vibrating. I was shaking. My whole body was just shaking, and I was just totally enthralled in this process. And for me, for my, I guess everyone's journey is different. And for my journey, I just needed to do a lot of purging. I've done a lot of the base work with energy, with diets and all that. I've done that. I needed to purge. I needed to cleanse my soul, reincarnate my soul into a cleaner place. So that way, and my main focus, after Mexico, my main focus is how can I integrate this to other people? How can I go back to my community and make this, something that I can help other veterans, help other people, deal with their own shit. And so the whole time I was in Peru, that was one of my main focuses. How can I integrate this back into, when I return home? So the first week was very slow. It was a lot of just isolation by myself, writing in my journal, just really trying to bring the demons and the entities that were affecting me to the surface, and trying to purge. So the first week was just, bringing those entities to the present, making those entities known. I did a lot of rapé, a lot of kundalini, and a lot of spiritual hypnosis that first week. Um, then the next week, I started getting into the purges. Um, I did 4 tobacco purges. The first one, I thought I was a frat kid at college trying to chug tobacco, and it just, it came out automatically, like before I was even down to my stomach, and that didn't feel right. So, the second and third time I learned, a lot of it for me was just to calm, just to have a calm demeanor and calm. So that way, when the storm hits, if I can remain calm, I can deal with it. So by the third tobacco purge, I was able to, get the tobacco all the way down into my system. Then I could get up and do exercises, walk around, and it didn't, and it was getting it all in my body. I felt cold all over, just felt like the medicine was going deep. And then that allowed me to purge a lot more and get rid of a lot of the darkness that was inside me. And so the fourth tobacco purge went just as well. It was really, really deep, really cleansing. I felt really good about it.
So you
So
did
then the
that. You
next,
did this. Yeah, you did this all before you'd had any ayahuasca, right?
yep,
And so
absolutely, yeah,
this is the only medicines you have in this part of the dieta is just the mapacho, the Peruvian, the Amazonian tobacco, right? In a liquid
yes,
form where you're drinking it concentrated and then drinking water on top of it until you purge. Okay. And what did it
yep.
feel like? You said you had purges in Mexico with these other medicines. You had purges here. Did it feel like there's anything different you're purging out? Do you know what I mean? As you're going along, because then you might have had purges in ayahuasca too. You know what I'm saying? Or is it? Yeah.
Well, I think the purges are kind of are similar. I think it's all just darkness, and I think the tobacco reaches a different level, and I think it grounds you. For me, the tobacco is very grounding. And after I do a tobacco purge, I couldn't sleep. I felt like like $1 million. I just had all this energy, but it was grounded energy. It wasn't just radical energy like I had before. It was this grounded, focused energy that I could, I really felt like I could process and really use to my advantage. So after we did the tobacco purges, I did ayahuasca purges with no DMT, just the ayahuasca.
Oh wow, what
Which
was tell us about that, because right, everyone
that
who's learned about it is familiar. You got the two different plants together, the ayahuasca vine, the monoamine oxidase inhibitor going along with the DMT and the chacruna. You said you had a brew that was just the ayahuasca vine.
it was really really intense. So the ayahuasca vine, it shuts down the function of the liver, so the enzymes don't eat up the DMT. Um, the first time I purged ayahuasca separately, it was very intense. It felt like my body was going through a washer machine. It was just my whole body was vibrating, just and then it felt like a helicopter was landing on my head. Yeah, it was super intense. Um, my next ayahuasca purge was one of the most difficult purges I've ever had. Um, Earlier in the day, I did spiritual hypnosis, and then I did a tobacco purge earlier in the day. So by the time I got to the ayahuasca purge, I was really a little run down, and a little tired. And he made the ayahuasca extremely strong. So I was sitting there paralyzed, just shaking like a washing machine. Like he's telling me to drink water. I'm like, I can't even move anything. I was just sitting there, just in paralysis, just shaking, just uncontrollably shaking over my purge bucket. Just without, and I lost focus. And it was that purge that really taught me about, maintaining your breath, focusing on your breath, and that's such a grounding thing for me. You know, when you're having stress or you're having anything, focus on your breath. It's real. It's the one thing that we can control.
Sounds like you were able to bring some of those tools that you'd been practicing and developing right in between, or before the deeper medicine work, and bring those to bear in the medicine work.
Absolutely. Some of the Kundalini we do some of the Wim Hof breathing techniques before we do the Kundalini. So we're integrating all types of breathing, which, made it really powerful. And I was, like I said, I did the base work before. So it was easy for me to integrate all that in. And just as soon as I learned, just to remain calm, just to breathe, don't react, just breathe, relax. Everything's going to be cool. Then, my third ayahuasca purge, which he gave me even a stronger dose, I was able to, I handled it like nothing. I was just so focused, so ready, just in the moment, and I was in the present, and I just allowed it to do its work and go deep in me. But I wasn't losing my mind. I wasn't, racing to get out of here. I was just staying focused on my breath.
Amazing. So, are you done at this point? You've had the four tobacco purges and three ayahuasca ceremonies. Do you keep going? Is there more?
Uh, oh, there is more. There's more. So then the next step, of course, was the ayahuasca and DMT. And, through my processing, I was, like I said, just remain calm. And through the Kundalini, you learn to be conscious while your mind is out elsewhere. To remain here while your subconscious is leading the way. So by the time it came to doing the ayahuasca with DMT, I was fully prepared. I didn't have a lot of these experiences that I see. I had a totally different experience. I was able to sit there and process what was going on. Like I had a lot of visions in my ayahuasca purges without the DMT. Like a lot of visions. It was extremely intense. So then when I got to the ayahuasca with DMT, I knew my body, everyone's body likes DMT, but I knew that my body was really recepting of the medicine. So at that point, I'd done the ayahuasca, I've done DMT, put them together. It was just a beautiful experience. I just, the one thing that kept coming up in my visions was, because I was focusing on how to help people heal, and it just kept telling me, beware of your ego, watch your ego, but you have everything you need to help people, so it was giving me, telling me I have everything, but beware of the ego, because the ego can ruin everything that you have and turn it into, different intentions.
How did you learn through the process of doing this dieta to work with that ego, right? So your higher self, your lower self, the different parts of yourself, whatever we're going to call them and identify them, are able to work together, in a harmonious, unitary whole.
Um,
Or do we should
for
just put
me,
the, or should we, this is a comedy show, or should we just put the ego out back in the house with the collar and a chain
uh,
and feed it
I mean,
scraps?
the ego has its purpose for many years. It kept me alive. If I wouldn't have had my ego, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have been dead. I probably would have given up a long time ago.
Yeah,
And the
for
ego is definitely not something that you should throw in the back shed. It's definitely something that it makes you who you are, and it allows you to be in this world and confident in this world. But you also, you need to understand and be conscious of it, just like anything else. Just like using your use with cannabis, your use with any medicine. It's there, it's a resource, but don't let that resource, become a crutch. Don't depend on your ego all the time to get you out of situations. It's not, it's going to defend you, and it's going to do what it thinks it's right to keep you alive. But a lot of times it's going to get you into trouble because you're going to overreact, and you're going to think that you have more control than you do. So I think you just need to be aware of its power and aware of its presence, but don't kill it off totally. It's something that made you who you are. You're not trying to kill off yourself. You're just trying to move yourself to a higher vibration. And with the ego in charge, you can't do that. But if the ego is riding co-pilot and you're able to say, hey buddy, just I got this one, hands off the controllers, I got this, that's a power in itself.
yeah, a lot of that depends on how good a job of advocating for yourself that you're doing. Like the ego has to step in and go in a hardcore defense mode and take over and save the day if you're not doing a good job of taking care of yourself, advocating for yourself, keeping good boundaries with people.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. The ego is what it keeps us alive, and it steps in. It's like a safety net, like you say, when you're not doing the right things health wise, or it feels like people are walking on you or taking advantage. It steps in and it takes control. That's good and bad, but just we need to be aware of it, and you know, moving to a higher vibration, you should bring with you that love, that love for yourself, that love for your soul. And I think that keeps the ego at bay a lot. If you're not loving yourself and you're not loving what you're doing or the situation that you're in, then that's the ego's job, is to step in and make sure you're happy. But if you're responsible for your own happiness, you can kind of put the ego to bed a little bit and let it take a nap and rest.
Nice, nice. So a mutual friend of ours, veteran Matt Kale, he's talked in some of the panels we've been on about providing leadership for the ego. So how do we provide leadership through our higher selves for that part of us that is, like you said, it's totally going to step up for us. But if we have it do it too much, we're going beyond just survival, and we're, you know, overusing it that doesn't help us. So how did you learn in that really long-term meditation with yourself and dieta about integrating all these parts and providing your own ego leadership? So it's not just about, hey, don't get out of control, but how do I have my ego where it feels comfortable and doesn't have to do too much, extra work?
The biggest thing is being able to forgive yourself, I think, and being and just loving your internal self, loving who you are. If you love who you are, if you love what you're doing, and if you believe in all those things, then the ego can be your best friend. But if you're making bad choices and you're not being responsible for your own happiness, then the ego is going to be your worst nightmare because it's going to force you to be happy. And that doesn't never works. It never works in a relationship. It never works in life. So if you can truly love who you are and love yourself and realize, yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to. That's part of being human. But allowing yourself that forgiveness, knowing that, yes, I can forgive myself. I'm gonna mess up. But I'm also gonna be able to forgive myself at the highest level, not just believing, oh yeah, I forgive myself, but truly deep within your soul, being able to forgive yourself, that keeps the ego at bay and makes the ego your friend.
How do we do? I Yes, amen, and I agree with you. How do we do that? And some of us, right, have been taught that we're not allowed to forgive ourselves. That right, that's not something as part of our right or makeup or possibility. How did you find for yourself self forgiveness?
A lot of it was, through the Bible. I believe the Bible is a guide for your subconscious, and it directs you in how to feel good and how to feel good about yourself and how to forgive. And a lot of it had to do with my healer. He through the whole process, forgiveness is a thing. Forgiveness is a thing. Forgiveness is a thing. But you can't you can't just do forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that you have to come to grips with, within yourself, realizing that we all have demons in us. We all have entities, darkness that get inside us when we have traumatic events, when we have, fear, when we're angry. There's demons on different dimensions that are always trying to get inside us and take over our energy. And just being aware of that, that allows me to forgive myself, knowing that this darkness was in control. I wasn't in control when a lot of these traumas or a lot of these situations happen. I wasn't in control. There was darkness in me that was leading the way.
So you weren't making a fully conscious choice. You're making a choice, but you didn't have a fuller spiritual picture to make the right choice.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, all of my decisions were clouded. You know, all of my intentions were being perverted. By this darkness in me. Even though I wanted to do good, I wanted to do all this. These demons were holding me back from it. Every time I'd try and reach a level, I'd notice that I'd have a big fallback, because these demons were getting angrier and getting, more upset that I was trying to get rid of them. And then I think going on a 7-day fast with no food or water, it really made an uncomfortable situation for this darkness to live, and it didn't want to be there anymore. And at that point, I realized, after doing a bunch of spiritual hypnosis sessions, I could notice myself the next day. Like I would be angry, throwing a fit, mad. Why the fuck am I in the middle of the rainforest? Fucking bugs, humidity. This is crap. What is going on? Then I do a session of spiritual hypnosis, and he'd extract a few entities or a few demons. And at about an hour later, I'd have a big smile on my face, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry for being an asshole." I had to like apologize to the guy because I was such a dick, but it was just my demons were fighting the process. So, and then I mean, once I noticed that and I saw the difference in me, and then like all of a sudden I can go to bed and sleep. I'm like, holy, you know, that's when I really you know, made the observation that, wow, these demons really were leading the way. Like I had a halter on, and they're like I was a horse, and they were just walking me through the pasture. And you know, it was at that point where I was just like, wow, I I can forgive myself. I can find this deep forgiveness that's going to satisfy my ego, that's going to satisfy my conscience, it's going to satisfy my mental, and allow my subconscious to come forward and just really get a clear vision of who I am and what I want to do, what I want to be, you know, without all this darkness, you know, kind of blocking my path.
How were some of the how were you able to let go of some of the guilt or shame or grief, let's say, that might precede being able to, forgive yourself or let go? So you're talking about these demons that you were releasing and purging and getting out through spiritual hypnosis and all these means. How when you're seeing those things that are part of you, how do you not feel? How do you get through the guilt of like allowing in that way of those things to happen, like the view of the ego, right? Or the shame of disappointment of letting yourself down because bad things happen to you, or that the grief of losing other people, right? How did you process some of those things?
You know, every human, we make decisions based upon the information that we know. And at that time, the information that I was processing, those were the right decisions, you know, based on the information I had at hand. Um, you know, and then once I started, you know, being aware of the darkness, I was able to, now I had new information. Now I can process things differently. I can see, okay, well, that caused that, you know, that those actions were directly related to the knowledge that I had at the time. Yeah,
So more self-compassion and self-understanding. You could see how at that time that was the best decision you could make with all the information you had, and so you could accept it, be okay with it, and and move on.
absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, did were there more? Was there more work after that? Were there more sessions of different kinds of plants, or more ayahuasca?
I ended up doing, two
How many
ayahuasca.
ayahuascas must a man take before they call him a? So,
I ended up doing two ayahuasca ceremonies with DMT. The first one I did by myself, and the healer just observed and made sure I was all right. And the second one, he was kind of like, "Fuck it, let's just drink some ayahuasca." So we both filled up a glass at like 3 in the morning and just had fun. You know, we just it was at the point in my, you know, my stay and my process where we could both, you know, be kind of on the same level and kind of, you know, just process things together and just have a, you know, a beautiful, you know, kind of a celebration, you know, the end of my process. And we just, I mean, just like I said, we just drank a bunch of ayahuasca, and he had like there was only like 15 plants in his ayahuasca, and it was just, I mean, beautiful. We just sat there and, you know, shared visions, and were able to just process together, and it was just beautiful.
awesome, awesome. So what? When then? And how long ago did you come back from Peru?
Last Friday, I came back from Peru.
Wow. So what for people right who wouldn't know maybe what a preparatory diet before doing this actual dieta, which is just the Spanish word for diet, of course, but then there's also a post dieta, right, where you have still further restrictions on what you can do and what you can consume. So, do you have a post dieta you're working with?
I'm just sticking to plants, fruits, a little bit of chicken here and there, but you know, just coming back slowly. You know, for me, it's not, you know, like today I took some LSD, but you know, it's not. I'm at a place right now where I'm pretty good with things, I'm still fasting till like 5 o'clock at night, just water, just, like just rice and stuff that's really easy on the system. But for me, it's just, trying to reintegrate is the biggest thing for me. There's a lot of, I already sounded crazy before I left. Now I come back and I'm like, yeah, everything's interdimensional and like, like
Well,
you got demons.
exactly. So yeah, you can explain to people a little bit then. Yeah, if you came back and you started eating fast food and watching a ton of TV and had all these, you right, whatever you want to say, lower vibrational energies, lots of noise, right, in your signal to noise ratio. What would that do to the work that you've been doing before getting ready to go to Peru and going down there and now coming back? So people can understand why that's important, not to come back and integrate it, and then also to have high quality things in their lifestyle, right? So they can maintain the higher levels of awareness and connection without getting overstimulated by our society, which has just got nonstop noise coming out of it.
You have to have it. I mean, it depends on person to person. You have to have, the more solid foundation you have, the more you can deal with, I guess. I personally have found it's just a little overwhelming. Everyone wants to know, like, oh, what you do, what you do, what you do, and then you like start talking about demons and entities and multidimensional shit, and it's just like, okay, okay. So for me, the biggest thing is just to like dull my human interaction a little bit and just, wait and relax and allow that to come naturally and not, force show up and just, oh my gosh, you got to do this and blah, blah, blah. But, allow allow people to just come to me and, and just, I have a fairly solid foundation. So the noise and everything, I can be very conscious of what's going on, but while maintaining a high vibration, as long as you can separate the two and you're aware and you can see like, oh, wow, that's programming, that's programming, that's programming. But it doesn't matter who you are. If you get beat down with enough programming, it's going to drive your vibration down. So I go snowmobiling. I go out like today. I went skating out on a lake, just free. Just being out in nature a lot. Connecting with nature, not losing that connectivity, and just trying to protect yourself from all this programming as much as you can. But I let as we all do. We all like to be part of society, just to know what's going on. Just so that way, I'm you're more educated, you're more aware, and coming back from 21 days in the rainforest. I mean, I turned the TV on and I like it hurt my head. Like I wanted to cry. Like I was like, oh my god, they invented a new friggin' disorder. Like looking at the screen too much, you got a disorder. I'm like, holy shit, I better shut it off before I get another disorder. Like it's like I didn't even want nothing to do with it. It just hurt my brain. No, and I just TV. It's like wow, programming, 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 but
It's
and then
it's easy to forget just how profoundly sick this country is until you're at the airport coming back from an ayahuasca session.
it's, yeah, just like drink, 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 eat. Like, holy shit. But yeah, for me, being able to to use the social media as a way to like kind of break people into the idea and kind of allow like some transparency, even though you can't get into all the deep stuff, you can still give people a glance at like, wow, this was him before he went to Peru, Mexico. Now this is him after. You can see it's a night and day difference. If you look at my Facebook thing, it's like, oh shit, this is when he did ayahuasca. Like you don't even need to see the dates. You can just see,
You
the
can see it. You can
process.
see it in your eyes. You can see it in your skin.
Yeah.
Your whole look.
Well, I think this is a great segue then, Ryan, into you've been a voice for veterans for many years, and like you said, you know, helping get PTSD added as a qualifying condition for the medical program in Maine for veterans and everyone, all patients that can benefit. Now, as you're getting to this point in your work where you've worked with some of the even deeper medicines and gone to Mexico and gone to Peru and done the 21-day dieta, and sounds like your life stabilized with your practices and your community and these medicines. What's next? What I know you want to continue to help veterans. What would you like to see next in America, in Maine, yourself, Veterans Society? Give us the goods,
Sacred
man. We're
plant,
all ears.
sacred plants decriminalized. I think for me in my community in Maine, uh, psilocybin mushrooms, get them off the books. We have a lot of Amanita muscaria that grows here. I'd like to be able to hold ceremonies for veterans and people with that. So I'd like to see that just decriminalized, allow these sacred plants to be used freely, give people more options. People need more options. The alcohol, the cannabis, the pills, we need more options. And for me, it's the psychedelics, anything. I think, anything that can really open up somebody's perception to different views is very beneficial. And I just think that everyone should have access. Everyone should be able to access mushrooms. Everyone should be able to access, whatever it is that they prefer, you know. And on the national level, I'd like to, get get our cannabis crew together and let's do the psychedelic thing now. Let's make this happen. Let's share this love. The cannabis love, that was good, but this is a bigger love that we can, have way more effect and change way more people's perception and allow more people to operate at a higher vibration. And that's what we need to bring to the table now. Um, yeah, we got cannabis and that's great, but now let's do some true healing. Let's uncover those blankets that we've been putting on ourselves and get down to the brass tacks and, get into people's souls and, get rid of their entities and their demons. So I think, like I said, for me in Maine, it's probably going to start with mushrooms because that seems to be, how the doors are opening for the psychedelics.
Would that be like at a state level thing one would try?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like Oregon has done so far, but just with mushrooms. Oregon is decriminalized all psychedelics and drugs, right, and put it then in a therapeutic pathway for providers to be able to offer it for use. In Maine, got to go statewide, right? You're not going to do it at just a city level, and then just try to get psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms decriminalized across the whole state.
Absolutely. That's my goal. That seems like it's my mission right now. Make mushrooms accessible to everyone.
Right, and then people could grow them themselves and have their own medicine. And you can grow? Do you have a right to grow for cannabis in Maine?
Yes.
Excellent. So would that be something that you'd want to see as well in a decrim initiative? Would be the ability for people to grow it?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's very important that people grow their own medicine. They have a lot more confidence in it. They know what's going in. They know what's coming out. It gives them just a better feel for their medicine. You know, I, and that way it makes it more reasonable for everyone. That way they don't have to buy it. They can it's more affordable, more accessible, and then they can just play with it on their own. And you're not like, okay, you get this much or you get that much. Here, grow your own. Here, just like we did with cannabis. And that just being able to grow on your own. Now you got to go into the community. Now you got to talk to other people that are growing there. It's okay. What are you doing? How are you doing this? Then it's that whole waterfall effect. Now you're like, oh wait, I'm using Amanita muscaria. Oh, I'm using this. I'm using peyote. I'm using San Pedro. It's all. So then you have just this whole network of people that are before that were, secretively doing these grows and having these ceremonies. Now, just like with cannabis, now it's just coming to the surface, and through transparency, I think we're going to break down a lot more doors.
Amen. So, with what you've learned in Peru and your other previous experiences, what kind then of lessons, training, experience, things that you would be able to share? Let's say, if you got your wish and psilocybin mushrooms were decriminalized in Maine, what would you be sharing with other people, right, in the way of techniques, practices, you know, ceremonial, pre, post, integrate? What kind of things would you be sharing with people that we'd all be doing together if we lived up there?
For the most part, I think
This is all I'm
from
saying, assuming we have some sort
yeah,
of decriminalization, right? That's
from
the
from my
framework.
experience, using them, like using them at music festivals, taking large amounts of it, and just having your head blown off. Um, that's all right, but using them on the micro level, microdosing them, like waking up and taking, like a capsule, or just like less, less than like 0.2 grams or something like that, like a low dosage, and it just allows you to be connected. It allows you to process the integration that's happening, and it creates a lot more awareness. Getting your head blown off with mushrooms is great. Everyone should try it. But I think for a regular daily, for more medicinal use, I think the microdose is definitely a more beneficial method of taking anything.
Does the microdose, is it different once you've had a deeper dose of the medicine preceding it, whether or not that was, in a ceremony or not? Does that make sense?
It does the same thing. It just does it at a much slower rate where your mind can process what's happening. When you just like when you smoke large amounts of DMT or something, your mind is just boom. It almost happens too fast. So you lose part of the processing. Through microdosing, whether it's LSD or shrooms, it allows you to be part of the processing, and it's much easier to integrate that into your daily life and see how it's benefiting you. It gives you a much clearer perspective on what the medicine is doing to you.
So, what's the future then you see in Maine or in the U.S., however many years you want to look at from now, when not just psilocybin, but DMT and 5-MeO DMT and iboga and mescaline, all these other medicines are decriminalized at state levels, are descheduled at a federal level? Yeah, what kind of future either do you see or do you hope for or do you want to see, or what's going to happen?
I think the walls are coming down a lot quicker than we thought. I mean, with everything that's going on, with the COVID, with just the darkness that's in this world right now, I think people are really searching in their souls for an answer. And I think, which just makes a beautiful entryway for these psychedelics and the DMT, toad, ibogaine, all these different medicines that we haven't been utilizing in our societies. I think the darkness is going to be an avenue for that. People are searching for something. I personally believe it's going to be sooner rather than later. I mean, I believe in my lifetime I'll be seeing, DMT ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies, Amanita muscaria ceremonies, just all these different ceremonies that are being able to, help people. I think I will see that. And I think it's my mission to make, part of my mission is to, join together with like-minded folks and make that happen.
Amen, because it's not practical, right, for everyone to go down to Peru and do ayahuasca, right? There's just
No.
okay. So what you're saying is the future is we need to take a homegrown approach, and decriminalization, at least at the state and local level, is the start there. And so it sounds like you're optimistic then on federal level, things tracking the same way with descheduling And then what about veterans? What either would you like to see as far as veteran healing or societal healing, or how, like you'd mentioned, that veterans, being a face for PTSD, that made it easier for people to accept, for that to become a qualifying condition, and people could understand that all trauma is trauma, and childhood trauma is the biggest correlator to getting trauma from combat service. So what do you want to see in the future in society?
Well, I think what's happening right now is, veterans have a warrior mentality, and I think, every veteran that we can turn into becoming a spiritual warrior, I think is going to be to our advantage. And just like cannabis, veterans are going to lead the way. Veterans, we talk and the communities listen, just because of how much the media and the world blows up what we do. We're just humans. We're just people. But
sure, but if we all take ayahuasca, won't everybody not want to fight? And then won't all the other countries go, ha ha, all their warriors just took ayahuasca, we invade now? Well, that won't happen.
If everyone takes ayahuasca, we'll be riding at such a high vibration that it won't matter.
All right.
We'll be all interdimensional,
they'll invade and like, where did everybody go?
Yeah, we won't even care. At that vibration, and your nuclear bomb is nothing. It's nothing. We'll just go to a different dimension. All right, I'll see you over there. Meet you at the fifth dimension or something. It's like once you're able to get that many people at that vibration, the whole world's changed. Then people are going to be like, wow, we want to go there. Wow, what is that? Instead of having to send people halfway across the world to Peru just to get healing that we can do in our backyards right here. Like, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to make being healthy so expensive? We don't. All these things are in nature. All these things are around us. Let's utilize our resources to help our people.
All of these things are illegal.
And it all depends on whose laws you follow.
Yeah.
Amen.
Now you're really talking crazy, Doc. No. Exactly. So, wow. So.
You mentioned earlier you were talking about fasting, demons, the Bible, and I just kind of spaced off into this vision of Jesus in the desert fasting, and Lucifer shows up and I think offers him some things. Can you remember, as you're going through this, did your demons offer you anything good while you were in the jungle getting bitten by bugs?
Do you have any special coupon codes you were able to load into the shopping cart?
One quick story, on day 5 of my fasting, when I was having a really, really difficult time, I watched a snake for 5 minutes, maybe longer, outside my room. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Usually I'm very afraid of snakes, and I was, about 5 feet from them. So about 2 hours later, I was laying in my bed, and this same snake, a green mamba, tried to get inside, tried to come in my place. I was like, whoa, what the heck? So then another guy caught another rare snake, maybe 20 feet from my place. And my healer was talking. He's like, I've been here 10 years and I've never seen a snake. And today we've seen 2. So it's that was just a representation of my demons, of the snakes just trying to get in, and because I was angry. I was like, why am I fucking not eating? Blah, 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 blah. I can't sleep. Being angry. And then all of a sudden these snakes show up. It was just a direct fucking connectivity to fucking, my demons and, where I was at in my process.
So the ayahuasca peddler's like, no ayahuasca for you. You cut down the snakes? then you get some of the ayahuasca. So, wow. So what? Sounds like the future you're describing, Ryan. Definitely something that I want to live in. We know that veterans make up 7% of the U.S. population, and what I'm hearing you say is that as exemplars or avatars or people being able to show integrating this childhood and wartime trauma and being and loving themselves and forgiving themselves can set an example for the rest of us. How do we turn down the war machine? Because you've been part of it, and neither of us are pacifists, but we've seen how you can achieve your political aims in these wars that last forever. So how do we go from the personal healing right to the societal transformation?
One soul at a time. It's just one soul at a time. You just have to wait. Like I said, through the darkness, people need something. People are gonna want to be saved. So we just need to right now establish our foundation. Get our group, our solid leaders together. That way, when these people come flocking to us, like, help us, save us, this fucking dark shit sucks. Yeah, we need to be ready and have the logistically be able to, process these people through and help reincarnate their souls and get them in a good spot. So I think right now it's just establishing logistics and just preparation, a lot of preparation, because the resurrection is upon us. I mean, you can't deny the amount of darkness, the COVID, this, that, there's so much darkness right now. But as you know, before resurrection, it gets really dark. So we need to prepare ourselves for the resurrection. So that way, when people are ready to be saved, because you can't save people until they're ready to be saved. It's not like you can just go door to door like a Jehovah's Witness, like, hey, you want DMT? Here, yeah. You can't do that. So you have to just wait. You have to prepare. You have to solidify your foundation. And that way, when they do come running, because they will, you are ready.
So if eventually we are going to beat those swords into plowshares and the knives into pruning hooks, and we're going to grow things, these warriors, what are we going to grow? When we get our rights to grow, what are we going to grow? That's going to change. In other words, right? That's part of the end of the war machine. Has to be that the warriors are transformed into something else, not just right that they're healed and they already don't want to fight war no more, right?
Spiritual warriors, you turn them into spiritual warriors, and you connect them with their subconscious. You connect them with their souls. Once people are connected with their souls, they don't have the need to fight. You dissolve you put that ego in the co-pilot seat. So the ego is not like, we need to fight. No one needs to fight. I mean, you're talking about like a utopian society.
Well, the ego still has to. You have still got to put food on the table, right? This is what I'm saying. You're getting paid. We're getting paid to fight. Now we're talking about paying ourselves by growing something. So
yeah, you can grow mushrooms. I don't think. Yeah, but I think if we're able to get everyone to a high vibration, what do we need? We don't need anything. We don't need anything. Look at yogis; they just eat air all day. What do we need? Like, I can sit here all day and meditate and breathe air, and I can live forever. You don't need nothing. That's the point that we need to get people to. We need to get people where they don't have the desires, they don't have the needs, they don't have the lust, they don't have the envy. Like, what I have inside me is all I need, because that's all I'm taking to the next dimension. I'm not taking anything. Taking me.
Sure, and for real, right? People are losing their jobs and they're getting evicted out of their houses, and there's a big reset going on in the economy. So a lot of people are in fear mode, and being able to put food on their table is an important thing. I'm just saying us getting away from being farmers now we're disempowered and we're disconnected from the earth and the plants. And I think part of this whole thing of taking care of ourselves and reintegrating is becoming some sort of farmers growing something where we can give that ego the leadership of saying, yeah, I have a safe, legitimate, healthy way to sustain myself, and I don't need the government to help me if I have my own health care, because I can grow cannabis and I can grow mushrooms and I can grow, mimosa hostilis and everything else, right? I mean, so.
In Maine, we're in a pretty good situation because there's a lot of farmland. There's a lot of, people, and over the past couple of years, people have really started to reintegrate farming and, using local beef, just, really going organic, getting back into that way of thinking, that way of living, on a more independent basis where you don't have that dependency, where you don't have that extra stress. Like, oh, if the government doesn't pay me my money, what am I going to do? I'm going to, or if I don't go to work and get stressed out for 40 hours, what's going to happen? I can't pay for my mortgage. Just go in the woods, build yourself a log cabin. Boom, plant some seeds, kill some fish, kill some deer. In Maine, we have it good. Like, I don't know what you're going to do down there in Texas, but in Maine, we have it good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Is there any website or anything you want to point people towards if they want to get involved with some activism or what's going on in Maine?
How do people get in touch with you or connect with you if they're
on Facebook? Ryan Deegan on Facebook. Yeah,
we'll make sure to put your some links in the show notes. So yeah, we're totally stoked. Excuse me, to have you on. And any final thoughts you want to leave us as we roll out here? Want to leave us with?
Just everyone be aware of the darkness, but also be aware that the light is coming.
We love you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Nope.